there. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to talk a little bit about Jeremiah 1 and 5 today. And so I'm just going to dive right into it because it's a vast subject that I know I'm probably not even going to finish, but hopefully we'll get to a good pause point anyways. I was thinking about the egg yesterday. There's a lot of fun facts about the egg, right? Other than how it's actually good for you and all that good stuff. And we won't even get into the nutrition part of it, but what I will say is this. The egg, inside the egg, is actually the chicken, if it's fertilized. If not, it's the protein that gives us sustenance. But let's just say the chicken inside the egg, and then the egg comes from the chicken. So if we know that when we're looking at a shell, we're not looking, like people look at the shell as the egg. Like if I say, hand me an egg, you're going to hand me most likely an egg. What I could really mean is, can you have that baked up in like an omelet for me? Can you hand me an egg already cooked, maybe with some bacon on it, maybe with some cheese or broccoli or butter or something? But when I say, can you hand me an egg, most people would go to the refrigerator and give me an egg because, see, they think that this is the egg. And this really isn't the egg. It's what's contained inside. That's the egg. And so I know that this probably may not even be a popular subject, and you might think I'm a little crazy, and that's okay. I've probably been called that before, and sometimes it's probably even been warranted. But let's talk about Jeremiah 1 and 5. And it says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before basically you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. Who you are is revealed in the spirit before anyone could define you in the flesh. God already knew who you were. He had already spoke your existence. He had already said that this is so-and-so, and this is, I believe, this is the purpose. I have mandated these things. And we can question God like, all kinds of stuff like, why does this happen? Why am I here? And listen, I've had those questions too. What am I doing? What's going on here? Why am I even in life? Why is my life existing? What purpose do I have? And sometimes when we're young or when we're in a battle, it's hard to see the purpose of the youth or hard to see the purpose of the battle. And this is a very young chicken, if we look at it that way, before it was actually even viable, right? And so another fun fact about the egg is, if I take what they call candling back in the day, now it's usually like flashlights and stuff, but if the chicken inside, if it was a fertilized egg, you would begin to see blood vein and chicken, and knowing that it was forming, as well as sometimes as it began to like have movement or heartbeat, you could even see some slight little stuff going on in there. So when your purpose is illuminated with the light, because we know Jesus is the light, you begin to see that you're not just an egg. You actually have life inside of you. You're not just this shell. You might be beautiful. You might not like the way you look. You might have some imperfections. You might be one of the most perfect people that walked on the face of the earth. I don't know. But when you see the outside, and when people see the outside, you could be a most beautiful person in the world and have a not nice inside. So you're not, the shell itself does not define you. It's the life in your tongue. It's the thinking, the process where you've got sinking thinking or godly thinking or victorious thinking, all of that. But we know that He defined us before we were in the flesh. You're not becoming who people say you are. You're remembering what God already knows and who God already knows. So when I talk about deja vu moments, this is my opinion, right? Have you ever walked in a moment that you thought, I've been here before? This is not just a physical place, but a feeling. and a knowing. It's a scene that seems to echo through time. It's not a mental glitch, it is a divine memory. Because you were formed and you were known not just conceptually, you were intimately known by God, in God, and from God. I believe that we were there from the foundations of the world in our spirit. And I believe, my personal opinion, is that when you're looking down through time, from the foundations of the earth, when you're in a moment, it's like, man, I've been here before, your spirit is in sync with what God had purposed in you, is the best way I know how to describe that. This is what you saw when you were still in Him. This is your scene, so step into it. Sometimes it's the deja vu moment itself is not new, right, to vocabulary, but it's not a deception. It's more of a confirmation of like this is what God's purpose in me. Your internal self is tapping into your temporal self on the shoulder and saying, hey, this is what He showed us. This is what we show up for. This is what we saw when we were still in Him. This is your scene, so step in it. Some of us are afraid to move forward because it feels too big or too much or too bold. But what if you are calling too much what is actually just right because your spirit already walked in it and birthed the vision that you're not a stranger in that future, that God prepared you as a witness to it. Your body is catching up to what your spirit already affirmed. So the next time your feeling comes that I've been here before, don't brush it off. Bless it, lean into it. It's not just a memory, it's a reminder. So I also started thinking about the tree, right? The seed, which we spoke about on a previous podcast, that the seed has to see itself in its seed concept as the tree. There's trees that only have one seed, like the avocado tree or the mango fruit, I should say, fruits that only have one seed. And so we can see what is viable in that avocado. Like we know that this is one avocado and that is one tree. One seed. We know that this is one mango and this is one seed. But we don't know how many forests of trees that those avocados can produce. So you basically, your deja vu moment, I think, is just looking down through time, and it's like a glimpse of information that you saw before. So when your natural eyes finally catch up with your spirit you already saw in Him, it feels familiar. You're not lost. You're in familiar territory. You're not wandering. You're walking into what was whispered into eternity. And so as I began to think on that yesterday and about the egg and the egg inside the chicken, inside the egg, inside the chicken, and for eternity, right? It just goes all the way up through. It started and then it keeps producing. And so you produce of the kind, but you don't produce the same chicken every time. You may produce the same type of chicken, but every chicken is different. And so as we look down through time, every one of our walks and every purpose or every deja vu moment, it may look a little different, or for each person, it's like, man, I've been here. What is this? Well, I remember doing this, when essentially I really hadn't done it because that space and time had never been given yet. So I started thinking about the butterfly and the DNA of the butterfly, and I had heard once before, and so I had to look it up. If the DNA of the caterpillar is still the DNA of the butterfly. And as I began to think about that, I thought, well, I'm pretty sure it's the butterfly that lays the eggs. So it's not the caterpillar. So I started thinking, well, do I have that right? Is the caterpillar lay the eggs and then they turn into caterpillars? No, the butterfly lays the eggs. The butterfly lays the eggs. Your life will continue to produce the DNA that God has put in you, and in your spiritual authority and DNA is produced out of the life that you live, out of the inheritance of the Father. And we can stop the life. We can. You can absolutely stop life from happening. You can. But if we realize that the same DNA is in the caterpillar. So these are some notes that I wrote. I'm just going to read them because they're very uh, you think about them. Think about them. I want you listen. Don't ever take what I say as word. Go look it up and make sure. I made a mistake on one of the podcasts when I said Hebrews 11:1, and I think it was 1:11, or vice versa. Um, so now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So check me. I'm okay with that. Let's take the caterpillar. The caterpillar did not become the butterfly. It was always a butterfly. It was just an earlier form of its butterfly self. The DNA itself never changed. Never changed. The DNA was always in the design. It just had to go through a pressurized pause. It had to stop for a minute. It had to say, okay, I got to go through this to produce that. And there's a lot of times we go through things to produce something. And listen, if you don't have an intimate relationship, if you want to talk about producing seed or producing heritage and legacy, you have to know that there's an intimate relationship and a planting and a conception that takes place. And if we would let our mind conceive and the um, mandate from straight from the throne of God, the DNA straight from the throne of God, if we would walk in the authority that we possess, our life could and would be so much different. I'm not saying y'all don't walk in some authority. I'm not saying maybe somebody out there walks in all authority. I don't know. I haven't reached that yet. But hey, I'm striving for it. Um, the destiny was always in the design. It had to go through the pressurized pause of the cocoon to be rebuilt. So maybe that's the moment, the deja vu feeling that you get, that I've been here before. Maybe that is the butterfly whispering back to the caterpillar that said, you used to be here. We made it. Maybe it's not new. Maybe it's like the egg itself that has been cracked open. And inside there was um, it's always been inside you. The shell has always been there, but when you crack it open, in this case, the cocoon had to like close and had to like be stopped and pressurized. But the glory had to come what was already in the spirit. Your glory is becoming what's already written in the spirit. So the Bible says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. So if we understand that He's in us, that the glory is in us, that Christ in us, the hope that we have. Earlier, was wearing a shirt that said hope. If we understand that the hope that we have is in Him, then we know that our journey is in Him and that our purpose is in Him. Because even the egg knew it was more than a shell, and even the caterpillar. Listen, here's something to really think about. The caterpillar's DNA knew it could fly. Even the caterpillar in its DNA. It walked on the earth. I can't imagine being the person that's walking and having to walk before they can fly. I understand that's a necessary step. I do. But man, I would imagine that caterpillar was just like, oh, just give me my wings. Give me my wings and just let me fly. Just give me my wings. Because even his DNA had to know he could fly while he was walking. And we all have purpose. Today I'm going to be making an omelet. It's going to have bacon, cheese, and some broccoli. And I'm kind of already got us mostly prepared for that. So I've got some butter in the pan already. And I'm just going to, and I love this bacon. I get it from Sam's Club, but it's like just really good bacon. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that into the pan. That will create, I've got some butter in there, but it will also create some more grease and some, fat, because we all need a little bit more of that, I'm sure. But I'm going to put it in there, and we're going to, of course, I'm going to start everything off on high because, well, that's my personality. And then I've already mixed up the eggs, and I've mixed, in this case, this time I mixed it with just a little bit of water. That gives it a little bit of fluffiness. And so this is 2 eggs. You could do 1, you could do 2. If you've got a whole family, make 95 of them, but that would cost you an arm and a leg these days. But I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a stir while my bacon is heating up a little bit. If we know that a lot of times we go to school, and one of the things that happened to me as a kid in school, I had tried out for choir, and I thought I had done pretty good, but I guess I wasn't good for what they wanted. And I remember to this day that the choir teacher said, "Well, thank you for trying out, dear, but we'll have to wait and try out next year." And that in itself, I'm sure, did something to me. So even when I get on platforms now or on stages, I get this, or I used to, it's not as bad anymore. I used to get this real tough, like, oh my gosh, shaking. I'm not going to measure up. I'm not going to be good enough. I'm going to make a mistake. I'm not going to sound good. People aren't going to like me. And all of that. And so I let as a kid, because, well, I'm a kid, I'm impressionable. I'm not saying that what you say and what has been said or spoken over you, that it's an easy task to just get out and not have part of it take some sort of root, right? I understand that we have to fight those things, and that we're fighting a battle between our ears for what people have spoken over us. But there's also a point where I'm now mature, if you want to say I'm not that caterpillar anymore. I am the butterfly, although the caterpillar knew the DNA it had in there. But I let that speak over me and give me uh, a lack of confidence in my life. And so even when I had opportunities, I passed them by because, well, one, I was raising a child and I had a family, really wasn't necessarily interested in it. But had I wanted that, even the things that I thought about what I thought about me would have kept me from falling and going into and flowing into that calling, if that had been a calling in my life. And so it does matter what we let people speak into us. And so don't let people come in and plant bad seed in your crop. It's not worth it. Let your purpose be revealed. As we get older, we get more mature, and hopefully we can begin to recognize those things that kept us from being potential. And listen, I still do. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I still do a lot of that today. We can all get gun shy because you can walk out of your house feeling beautiful and have on a perfect outfit, and just the wind is just right and the sun is shining just right, and all the things in the world just smile down on you, and even the storm clouds run in your presence, all of that good stuff. And somebody say, "Oh, that color just doesn't look good on you. Why are you wearing that?" And then all of a sudden the rain cloud comes back, and because you let your brain lose power, you let your brain lose authority because you let somebody speak into you. Don't let people plant seed in you that shouldn't be planted. Don't let them do that. So this here, I'm not going to make it in an omelet form. I'm literally just going to kind of chop it up and mix it up. Sometimes I will make it in an omelet form, but I'm not doing that today, mainly because I have these big old chunks of broccoli in there. So I have bacon, I have broccoli, and now I'm about to throw a little bit of cheese in the mix. And I've got two different kinds of cheese. You can do whatever kind of cheese you want. This is just what I had. It's what was available, so I'm going to throw that in there. And listen, when you're walking in purpose and destiny, God doesn't even mind that you have desires of things that, like, some people think if they want a nice vehicle that they need to be driving around in something that is old and beat up and all of that. God doesn't want his people walking around poor, and, like, it's okay to prosper. He said, "I would that you prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers." Well, if your soul is prospering, your stuff ought to be lining up with the prosper of the Father. And listen, I'm going to get this cheese on the pan because, well, I like cheese fried on. So, but if your soul is prospering, you should be prospering. You should be aligning yourself with the prosperity of God, with the promises of God, with the yeses and amen of God, with the authority of God, with the authority through our inheritance of Christ through the DNA. That's for us to prosper. He didn't just say it just to be words. It was words from the throne. It wasn't just words. And when as we've covered in another broadcast, when you begin to hear God's word, you're literally breathing his breath, because breath is present when somebody is speaking. I hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast today, and I hope you have a great day on purpose, and go out there and make yourself an egg omelet and know what you're made of.